Good day, everyone. I don't know what's going on with my phones. It's great. Anyway, thank you for attending our Thursday, July 15th, 2021 regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen's meeting. I ask that we please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next section would be if there's any additions or changes to the agenda. Andy?
I just think we're going to be able to follow the agenda. I do have one letter from P&Z, but I think it'll be okay if I read it under correspondence.
Okay, great. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none. Excuse me. Moving on, our public comment. This section of the agenda is reserved for people who wish to briefly address the board. We request that comments be limited to 3 minutes or less. People that wishing to comment on any items should be typing comment and their name in the chat box, and you'll be recognized. Please also make sure that we have your name and address, please. Donna, anyone for public comment?
Yes, good evening. Mr. Kevin Tulamari would like to make a public comment.
Okay.
Yes, hi, thank you. My name's Kevin Tulamari, 110 Kinney Road in Amston. And thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you to Chairman Larson and the members of the Board of Selectmen. I would like to comment on the proposed public works building letter that's coming up in the agenda. And I'm sorry, I'm on my laptop in the parking lot of the library. I hope to stay for the whole meeting. But I'd like to comment on the proposed public works meeting. And first, I understand the great need for a new public works building and all the hardworking members of our community that this would serve. I actually submitted a letter to the email, Board of Selectmen email. So I hope that can be entered into the public record through the Board of Selectmen email. But I have and have had for a number of years, and some of you may know me, concerns about the development along Kinney Road and the development of the that property, the Village Green property, and the use of it for a public works facility. And really what I would like to do today is urge the Board of Selectmen, the Public Building Committee, the Conservation Commission, Planning and Zoning Commission, and Historic Properties Commissions to all proceed carefully as we go forward with this project. I think it's a very sensitive area and a number of reasons, including environmental impact on an important part of the Raymond Brook watershed, as well as its impact on Kinney Road, a scenic and historic neighborhood. And I put in my letter the specific sections of the Plan of Conservation and Development that should be, I urge the committee respectfully to look closely at these different aspects of the Plan of Conservation and Development, specifically Section B, drinking water supplies, Section C, streams, corridors, Section G, wildlife. There's actually the part of near the intersection of Kinney Road and Church Street. There is a protected species area of special concern that needs to be looked at. And then the Section H, the scenic and vista part of Plan of Conservation and Development. And if you drive down Kinney Road, you'll know it's a really beautiful, very old street, well maintained with stone walls on both sides. crosses waterways and all those other areas that are important, as well as a couple historical heritage sites on Kinney Road and Church Street. I'd like to suggest as we move forward too, that there could be an option for using Kinney Road as part of a industrial access road, and that maybe this can be redesigned, the Village Green Master Plan can be redesigned to not exit on Kinney Road, but to exit on Church Street on that that side of the development, or just have the entrance and exit go onto Route 66, containing this into a commercial area, and leave the scenic and very nice part of Kinney Road to be a neighborhood as it has been for hundreds of years. So that's my concerns, and I thank you for paying attention and considering that as we move forward.
Thank you very much. And we will, at this point, there have been no decisions. The building committee has looked at a number of properties, and they are still looking. It's right now, I think their main effort is to make sure that we get this facility back on the radar. I do know that they have looked at numerous pieces of property, but at this point in time, there has been nothing that has been set in stone as to where this project is going to actually be constructed. So we do welcome your comments, and all of these things are definitely things that we will definitely consider as things proceed. But I think right now the biggest thing is to make sure that we get this back on the radar. Our current public works facilities are definitely lacking and potentially are dangerous. And we have a responsibility to our townsfolk and our town employees to make sure that the town is protected and that our employees are protected. So as I say, at this point, I thank you for your letter, and these things will definitely be considered. And any decisions will still come before the voters, and we'll present whatever findings are found out at that time. So, but thank you for your concern.
You're welcome. Thank you, Chairman.
Anybody else, Donna?
There's no other comments at this time. There's another opportunity for public comment at the end of the meeting, and if anybody has a comment, just jot your name in the chat box. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. Have to roll the, yes. Okay, do we have anybody for good to know, Andy?
We did, but unfortunately he got called to work. So what I had for good to know was we're getting a new resident trooper. Our last trooper got promoted to sergeant, I'm sorry, and he's being transferred to Troop C, a different barracks. So his last day was today. Our new resident trooper, who I was hoping to introduce you to today, is trying to finish up his schedule before he comes over to us. He's been here training, but he had another commitment and couldn't make the meeting tonight. So we'll be introducing him at the next meeting. But our new trooper's name is Bryce Reed, and he will be starting Monday. I think Sloan will be doing a story on him next week. But unfortunately, we just didn't find out till today that he couldn't make it.
Okay. Well, thank you. These things happen. Okay, and Darren was just a great guy too.
Did a very nice job for the short time he was here.
He was really, really involved and trying to deal with some of the issues down on the end on Grayville, and he's going to be missed. Okay, our next thing would be
is the Eagle Scout.
Correct.
Proclamation for Troop 28 for Hunter Linwood Massey.
Okay. Anyone who has attained Eagle Scout, what a great accomplishment. I'd like to read the proclamation. Town of Hebron proclamation honoring Hunter Linwood Massey for attaining the rank of Eagle within Boy Scout Troop 28. Whereas Hunter Linwood Massey has been a Boy Scout for several years, and whereas his commitment to the Boy Scouts has been evidenced by his diligence and selfless performance of community service by achieving the role of Assistant Senior Patrol Leader at summer camp, being nominated as a member of the Order of the Arrow, attending National Youth Leadership Training, and helping lead HIHS's Scouting for Food Drive. Whereas his sincere concern for his community was illustrated by his Eagle Project, where Hunter made 7 benches for the nature trails at Hebron Elementary School and Gilead Hill School. He milled the lumber into slabs and assembled the finished boards and parts into beautiful benches that line the nature trails at the elementary schools. Whereas Hunter attended Ram High School and participated in ski and snowboard club, alternative energy race team, and the ultimate frisbee club. Okay. Whereas Hunter also participated as a police cadet for the State Police Troop K, and therefore we, the Hebron Board of Selectmen, in recognition of Hunter's many years of accomplishments, dedication, and leadership in the Boy Scouts and in our community, hereby designate July 31st, 2021 as Hunter Linwood Massey Day, and express on behalf of the town of Hebron our sincere congratulations and admiration for his accomplishments. Is Hunter with us tonight?
I'm sorry, he was called away to work.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry. Miss Garrity, did you want to say anything?
I'm here as part of the Boy Scout Eco Committee with Mrs. Volk, and we were just here to represent him, and his grandparents and mother are here also, and we just wanted to attend the great achievement that it takes a lot to become an Eagle Scout. Mrs. Volk's son received it, my son received it, and it's a big honor. We just wanted to make sure, because this was the last minute thing that he couldn't appear, that he got the recognition he deserved for this achievement.
Thank you. Ms. Bogue, did you want to say anything? That's
Thank you. Yes, it is, a very hard honor to achieve. It takes typically about 5 to 6 years going up through the scouting ranks. It's you have to earn 21 merit badges. You have to assume a position of responsibility for every year that you're in Scouts, and you have to do an Eagle project, so many nights of camping. You have to prove Scout spirit. There are so many requirements that you must attain to make Eagle, and only 4% of all Scouts achieve this honor. So we're very proud of Hunter and his achievements.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll actually hopefully be joining you. I actually got the date written down somewhere, so I have the paper. So thank you very, very much. And let Hunter know that we did miss him not being here. But again, we congratulate him, and we will be giving, I will bring that with me. I can't remember the date. It's coming up. I know that. So thank you.
Dan, it's Mark. I'd like to make a comment.
Oh, sure. I don't see you, but go ahead.
I just left for vacation, so I'm trying to hang in there the best I can here. I'm on my way to vacation.
Okay.
Hey, Lori and Diane, I was a Scout. I made it to Star. I realized what an effort and what an incredible young man you have to be to get to Eagle Scout. So if you're involved in that process with him, I give a lot of credit to troop leaders who provide that guidance. And I'm just in awe of anybody who makes Eagle Scout, and a little bit jealous because I was never able to complete that. So congratulations, guys.
And
I will let it go. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to also shout out Ms. John Collins. My wife and I, we walked down by the nature trail at Hebron now, and it's the benches are I was wondering who did them. They're wonderful, and thank you very much. That's a great spot for everybody.
Thank you again. Thank you again. Okay. Our next will be the town manager's report.
Yeah, and I'll go slow because there's a lot because we skipped the meeting. So there's going to be some stuff that some of the selectmen might want to comment. So I'll pause as I go through each item, and then I'll get into correspondence. So it's been pretty busy. We've had some turnover in department heads, as you just heard again with the troopers. But, so I was working through that situation with the new resident trooper and the transition, and I just gave his name Bryce. So hopefully you'll be able to meet him at the next meeting, or if you're in town, we'll try to introduce him to everybody. It's no secret that we're having a little bit of trouble trying to fill the town planner's position. So I reached out to the Town Planners Association. I spoke with Michael Larry, who's graciously stayed on to help us through this transition. And taking upon myself to lessen some of the requirements. We will be bringing back the job description to the Board of Selectmen for approval, but with some insight from the Town Planners Association, we were wondering why we weren't really getting any successful candidates. So we modified that a little bit in an attempt to go back out, which we are, to see if that helps us get a better pool that might fit the venue. And if not, we've also reached out to CCM. They have a program similar to a headhunter where they would do a nationwide search, spearhead that, but that's expensive. That they would want 70% of the first year's salary, along with a $5,000 expense line for advertising and printing and interviews and so on. So that if we were to go that route, you're looking at anywhere between $22,000 to $25,000. So we're going to try to do this second or third round that we're doing now and see what we get. And if we don't, then I'll be coming back to the Board of Selectmen for approval to see what to do next. So that's the update on that.
Andy, can I just
Yes.
interject? It's a long shot, but you know who might be interested and would be great? It's Frank Zitkus. Been on the planning board forever. He's incredibly diligent. He's the most diligent person I ever met. He knows Hebron backwards and forwards. He knows planning. He knows planning as well as anybody. I think he's been on the board more than a decade. I don't know if you do it, but it's an idea.
I know he's aware of this, and I know isn't he an employee for the town of Vernon?
I think so.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what his employment situation is, but I have no problem talking to him.
It's a long shot.
Okay. Listen, I'll take all the help we can get. Okay, so also working with the new Parks and Rec director. Once again, brand new, so there's a big learning curve there. But we're confident that he'll prevail. But it's taken a lot more of supervision and bringing him up to snuff and showing him, what we do and what we own and what we maintain. The new bridge came in today for the Keeney Park Trail. So that'll be starting to get assembled, hopefully shortly, but that has arrived. The wind walls and abutments are in, they're in place, so that went well. So hopefully the rest of the bridge will be up, no later than another month if the weather holds out, which is another item on my list. one thing I got to bring up is there was a letter sent or a poll to the Board of Selectmen from Code, and they were looking to set up a workshop. And I think the 3 selectmen responded with the date of August 25th as being the best date to do that. So I'm looking to get some confirmation from the board members tonight so I can go back to them and tell them it's a go. So I could pause and you could talk amongst yourselves.
I believe Dan Larson, I believe I already stated that I will make it, whatever date is decided on, I will work my schedule. I will be there.
Me too, John. This is John. Me too. And I think I said I preferred the 25th, but I think, or the 23rd. I forget, but either date.
This is Gail. I put the 25th down as something that it appeared I could make.
Yeah, Peter Cather, I was good with the 25th as well.
Mark? Are you there?
Yeah, what day is the 25th, day of the week?
It is August 25th is a Wednesday. It is the 4th Wednesday of the month.
I believe I can make that too, Dan. It's a long way out, but I believe I can make that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So I'll respond back to people from Code that that's confirmed by the Board of Selectmen. Thanks again. So it's no secret to people in Hebron, since our last meeting, we've had very active thunderstorms and a tropical storm that really raised a little bit of havoc. So the thunderstorms that hit, for whatever reason, the substation went down. The Judd Brook substation went down. So we had over 65% of Hebron without a power for about 5 or 6 hours. We immediately got on that with the emergency management director and our liaisons from Eversource. And by knowing the town and that many people out, I knew there was a major problem of either a transmission line or a substation. And sure enough, they responded back immediately. They weren't sure what happened at the substation. They went in and did a manual override. It shut itself down for whatever reason. So they got it back up and running. Took us a little bit, but they got it going. So everybody wasn't out all night long, thank God. And then the tropical storm, the amount of water that we got in a short amount of time, in the 26 years that I've been here, when I first got it, we had issues with water going over the road on Mill Stream and Keeney, but I thought I had repaired that with oversized pipes, additional pipes, and reworking of the drainage there. So this was the first time since that was done that we had water over those roads again. And a lot of the residents also had problems with water in their basements, flooding, streams, swelling up over their banks. So Public Works has been very busy, some runoff, some washouts, that kind of stuff. We were lucky that out on Old Slocum Road, we fared, fairly well known. We have a little issue out there that we'll be addressing later on in this agenda packet. But kudos to, the fire, the police, and of course the Public Works for the hard work and all the hours they spent out there and the storms that we've been dealing with. I think it's starting to become somewhat of a norm. I hate to say that, but I don't know if anybody has any comments regarding the storms. Okay, so moving along, we're working with the EDC. We solicited from firms to see if they want to work with the town of Hebron regarding our new branding. So they're going to be putting a small panel together to review those applications. I'll be working with them as well. I'm not sure if anybody in the Board of Selectmen wants to be a part of that. I would recommend that to Neil Amwake, who's the chairman. But I know, John, this was one of your things. It took us a while to get in place, but I think we're finally close to getting it there. The wheels of municipalities and moves a little bit slower than private, but we finally got there. So hopefully we get a good firm. And in stating that, the second half of this is I'm also meeting with the Wyndham Chamber. They're going to be picking up some of the duties that John Gostowski used to do for locally, maintaining, the business that we have and our mailer and some of the services. So we split that up, and we're working that out. So I have a meeting next week with the chamber coming in. Okay. Once again, without Mike, I've kind of taken over. We're working on the new building software. We're going to be transitioning out of the old software and into the new, but that's going to be anywhere from a 4 to 6 month process. So we started that, and I'm kind of spearheading that right now with myself and Randy. I was hoping to have it for tonight, so we will not be looking to have an executive session. We're still working on the parks contract. I think we have an agreement, but the union and the employees didn't ratify it as late as today. If they did, we could have moved forward. I think we're all set, but until I have that green light, I didn't want to rush it. So we'll have to do it at the next meeting. But if that's done, then all the contracts will be done.
Beautiful.
Also, working on the SRO contract with RAM, that has expired, so we're negotiating a new one. I put a proposal together, sent it over to Scott Leslie, and I'm meeting with him to hopefully finalize that next Wednesday, and we'll be bringing that to the Board of Selectmen to review. Also, this time of year, we're end of the fiscal year, we're doing a closeout, and we're also doing the startup of the new budget. And we're also going to, Elaine and myself, review, along with Donna, the CIP closeouts and some of the cap non projects as well to see where we are. And then Donna's been working on the small cities grant with the contractor down at Stonecroft. That's been taking up, quite a bit of time. We're trying to get that ball rolling during the construction season. So it's been kind of busy. But we're getting it. And Mr. Chairman, that's it for the activities, but I need to go into correspondence now, if that's okay.
Sure,
Could I-
please.
Andy?
Sure.
Go ahead, John.
What's happening with the Bernstein property? I know we got the 11th weight from the planning, is it in zoning?
They're just finishing up with the A2 survey. We haven't gotten that yet. But the next thing would be is we're hoping in September, we have a couple other items we're going to be bringing to town meeting for approval.
Okay.
So the Bernstein property itself is pretty much ready to go. We have 2 other parcels that we don't want to have too many town meetings. We want to try to combine them. So on one of the other parcels, we're waiting for a signature and some other documentation, but that should be coming in rather shortly, and then we'll move that to a town meeting for approval.
Okay, great. That's great. And I saw you guys put in the driveway for the off of Wellswood. Where is it? The driveway for the new open space entrance.
Off of Millstream, you mean?
Millstream, yeah, Millstream. Sorry.
Yeah, that's to get up in there, and we had to make an area where the crane's going to be able to set up to put the bridge in. So that once the bridge is in, that should be pretty close to being complete.
That is so cool. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. So under correspondence, you got the letter for the Eagle Scout. And Danny, I think I heard you say you're gonna attend that ceremony.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so that'll be covered. Okay, so I'm happy to report, and this, I think the selectmen know this, but this is more for the public, is the Department of Economic and Community Development. It's an address to me, Andrew J. Tierney, Town Manager, Town of Hebron, subject round 13 Brownsfield Municipal Grant Application, Tertian Mill, 459 Church Street. So to consolidate some of this, I won't read the whole letter, but it starts off with congratulations. The Department of Economic and Community Development is pleased to award the town of Hebron a grant in the amount of $245,520. So once again, that's for the Tertian Mill. That's privately owned. The town has been working with the owner to try to obtain funding to have them move forward with that project. The owner is ecstatic. We're quite pleased that we received this. And I think it's going to give that project a big boost. So that's good news.
Yeah, that's, Mr. Chairman, and Andy, that's exciting. And just, I mean, the idea behind there is that that's going to be a pub or a brewery, and people are going to be able to bike on Airline Trail from there to the town center, for example, or for another brew. But yeah, I mean, it's a great thing for tourism, but great work.
It is. Mike did a great job, and we've applied for many Brownsfields grants, and we were starting to get frustrated, but persistence paid off. And also a second letter that came through, and we had a conversation with the deputy commissioner. She was very nice. So this is another letter written to myself, Andrew J. Tierney, town manager, town of Hebron. Subject round 13, Brownsfield municipal grant application, Airline Trail site. That's the 501 Church Street property that we own. And once again, to summarize, it says, Mr. Tierney, thank you for submitting an application for funding for the Brownsfield Redemption Action and Redevelopment Municipal Grant Program, round 13, administered by the Department of Economic and Community Development. This round of funding was particularly competitive. DECD received 52 applications requesting approximately $39.5 million of grant funding. Applications were scored and ranked based on scoring criteria, including with the notice of funding availability published in December 21st, 2020. DECD is impressed by your project and is open to committing the requested $650,490 in grant funds if the below conditions are met before June 27th, 2022, contingent upon availability of the Brownsfields fundings at that time. So I talked to them, and they want to give us this money. The conditions are, it says the town of Hebron must identify a private developer, which I think we have. The developer in the town must demonstrate that the capital stack needed for the proposed redevelopment project has been committed, and the purposed redevelopment plan and end use is consistent with the end use described in the round 13 application. So we're pretty close there. We did have a contractor or two where I myself is reaching back out to them to get them online, and that would be a big boost. And that property is also right across the street from the parking area of the Airline Trail.
So we have Dan Larson. So reading this, and I've read it a few times. Basically, we've got roughly a year to get those conditions lined up. Is what my take from this is. I would just like to know. I'm a little nervous when it says contingent upon the availability of brownfield funding at that time.
Well, that's why I would say I don't think we have quite that much time. I think the sooner we get the criteria met, we'll secure the funds, and then we can move forward. So really, all we really got to do is nail down a developer, get an agreement, and send it to them. We're not going to change what we submitted.
Okay, good.
Mr. Chairman, it's Peter.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Andy, sorry, I take my picture off. My face would be way too close for everybody. In the first project, do you have a sort of a timeline from the owner of this brew pub once this amount of funding is available? Just, is this a 5-year project, a 2-year project? Do you have any idea or anything you can share on that?
Yeah, so this is to help them do any redemption of the Brownsfields that's on the property now. We're just walking through the criteria latest today. I was on the phone with Mike several times today. So the money, the owner has to do the work. He has to hire the contractor. He has to meet all the requirements. The money will flow through the town of Hebron. We'll administer the funds, but he has to do the work, get the companies, and meet the criteria. So I'm going to meet with Tom Fenton and myself and Mike, and we're going to lay out the ground rules on how this is going to be handled. But it's pretty much up to the owner to start the ball rolling. And we had a company that we were using that helped us in the first redemption grant we got for them. That gentleman is willing to stay on and help the owner as well. So I think we're in a good spot. The owner is ecstatic, and he's very happy with the town's efforts to try to help him in his endeavor. So I think he was concerned, a little overwhelmed, but getting news like this is a big help.
Thank you.
Okay, and two more things, Mr. Chairman, I apologize.
No, not a problem. Please.
I sent this out a while ago. You got the
Yes.
letter, and also a small petition from the Pettit child. I'm just looking for her name here. P.S. Kids are, Don, I can't seem to find her name.
It's
Oh,
Sydney.
Sydney.
Sydney Pettit
Oh, okay.
had sent a letter in with some signatures from her schoolmates and some of the school staff requesting air conditioning at the elementary schools because it gets hot. I also responded back to them on the Board of Selectmen's behalf, and I forwarded this to the building committee as well. So I just wanted to acknowledge that you guys have received it, and we will have a discussion with the building committee regarding that when we look at the schools. Okay, and then hopefully last, underneath correspondence, so a letter was sent out today. I'm not sure that all the selectmen were able to get it, so you're gonna have to painfully let me read this. There it is there. So it's addressed to me. Dear Andy, at the July 13th, 2021 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the commission authorized a zoning regulation amendment application to impose a temporary and limited moratorium on cannabis establishments with a copy attached. This action was taken upon the recommendation of the town attorney in response to a recently passed SB 1202, an act concerning responsible and equitable regulations of adult use cannabis. The act provides opportunities for towns to prohibit or regulate this use by ordinance or by zoning regulation. It states that if not regulated or prohibited by zoning, cannabis establishments must be approved in the same fashion as similar use, such as retail use, that are permitted in every retail and business district in Hebron. The act also does not state when an applicant can begin to file an application for a site plan or special permit for such a facility, and the zoning commission has not taken action in regulating or prohibiting them. Based on the information, we determined that we would move to put a moratorium in place while the issue is reviewed and the act is studied in depth. Since the act also allows towns to take action by ordinance, which is under the preview of the Board of Selectmen, the commission wishes to bring this to the attention of the board and seek their opinion on the matter and discover if the board wishes to take action by way of ordinance in lieu of the moratorium. The moratorium hearing would not take place until August 24th. Please provide us with input on this important matter so that we work in unison. So in a nutshell, they're just want the feeling of the board. They don't want to be overstepping their bounds. Board of Selectmen are clearly in charge of ordinances. If you want my opinion, I've been following this through the state and through CROG and CCM, and also in talking with Mike. The selectmen can do what they want. An ordinance is more of a permanent thing. As it's stated, the moratorium is temporary, but it'll give them time if they want to draw up new zoning or amendments to the zoning regulations. That could also put the regulations in place once they're approved and adopted. So they just want your feeling. They don't want to overstep their bounds. They want to, before Natalie moves forward with the public hearing and the moratorium, they kind of want to know your thoughts. Are you okay with them doing that? Or do you think we're going to jump right to an ordinance? That's kind of a lot on your plate for tonight. So they're not looking for a formal vote, just some sort of guidance. And I will place this on the next agenda, and you'll have time to digest this, process it, and do what you want to do. But that's the flavor. They want to find out what you guys think.
Okay. Well, I'm going to open it up to the board members. I know Peter's got some thoughts on this. I know I've got some thoughts on it. I'm sure everybody else does. But I'd like to start with Peter, if nobody minds. Peter? You're on mute.
Yeah, no, hold on. I just, again, on my phone, it gets a little close. I want to make sure you can hear me. Well, I appreciate, I know everyone's going to have thoughts. I like the idea of the planning and zoning, creating, the moratorium. That'll give us more time to discuss it. I think there are definitely issues that would necessitate really continuing to explore it. My personal opinion on this is I think we really ought to be watching the federal changes on this because, since it's illegal federally still, there's, the banking's regulated federally. It's a cash business, as you know, and there are just a myriad of issues associated with that maybe present some challenges that are worthy of discussion. And so I don't know that an ordinance is required, but clearly supporting a moratorium while we continue to explore the issue and the impact in our community, I think is a good first step. So, thank you.
Dan?
else?
Dan, this is Gail.
Yes,
Um,
please.
I don't want to see us jump into an ordinance. That's a very serious matter. The moratorium sounds appropriate to me until we can gain more information of the ramifications of this whole situation. And that would, I think that would be adequate for the moment. We need to buy a little time to do further study.
Mark, I saw you come on.
Yes, Dan, I and other board members, I'm open for discussion about this, but I feel very strongly that I don't want any marijuana dispensaries in Hebron. We have enough trouble keeping kids from buying vape, let alone having some ability to get marijuana, not because they're buying it, because they find straw buyers to get it. And I don't think that's a good representation of our town. I know we want more business here. That's not the kind of business I want here. So it would be very difficult to get me to be opposed to having an ordinance that through zoning that didn't allow that to be here unless there was some state law that prohibit us from having an ordinance. I actually would be in favor of an ordinance at this time unless somebody could convince me that somehow that might be a good thing for our town.
Okay, thank you. John?
I think I concur with Mark. I think exactly what he says.
Okay. Myself, my feelings are, I definitely support a moratorium at this point in time. Because I have a few things. I have issues with the recreational issues as a business owner, and I know it has nothing to do with this, but if I have an employee that comes to work stoned, what are my legal options? What are my ramifications? Alcohol you can smell. Unless you can smell this stuff on somebody's clothes, you can't smell. Am I accepting or do I have liability as a business owner? It is a cash business. Many times Hebron does not have, a full-time police department. So to me, it would be easy pickings right on 66 if, with this type of a cash business for, these stores or whatever to be potentially robbed. I just think I just don't think it's fit for Hebron, at least at this point. I'd much rather see what happens with larger communities, see how it all comes down the pike. I definitely feel at the least a moratorium at this time is definitely appropriate. I guess you kind of got everybody's viewpoint, Andy.
Yeah, so if I hear everybody correctly, for now, we're okay with them moving forward with the moratorium and their public hearing. And we'll take it up later if we want to go beyond that to institute an ordinance. Did I hear it correctly? Okay. And like I said, they're being they just don't want to step on anybody's toes. They want to do this without the Board of Selectmen's, somewhat blessing. So it sounds like they're on the right track. And we'll do this immediately, as soon as they can, and then they'll look to see whether, like Mark said, just a hard ordinance, or we write and amend the zoning regulations that would have stiff, requirements, if at all, but that's up to another day.
Perfect, thank you.
Dan, one more thing.
Yes, sir, Mark.
So there's a big push to overhaul the juvenile justice system. And this kind of relates to this. As it stands right now, and obviously everybody knows I'm the school resource officer, so I'm with the young people every day. I'm an advocate for them, but I'm not an advocate for making things more accessible to them that are detrimental to their growth and development. So I can't even give a kid a ticket for being in possession of marijuana like you can an adult. There's almost no way to have consequences, and it's not like you want to say, okay, I'll send you to the juvenile justice system over this, because they don't do anything at all. So to even have marijuana anywhere near our town without any consequences for abusing it, even if you're smoking marijuana in school, you get suspended, but I can't do anything. So your hands are really tied, and this really equates to a larger issue, and I won't go on with it, but I know all of you fellow selectmen are concerned about no consequences for juveniles, no way to rehabilitate them. They've gotten rid of basically the programs are ineffectual. The juvenile review board we have is good, but it falls far short of really addressing all these problems. And marijuana is just at the front of it, let alone auto thefts, carjackings, robberies with no consequences. So maybe that was exceeding the bounds of the original conversation, but I just wanted to get that out to you guys.
You are very accurate, and I think anybody with any level of common sense, when you saw how the juvenile justice system was being modernized, the handwriting was on the wall that it was going to be a fiasco, and it has been. It's been literally an open season to do whatever they felt like doing with no ramifications. And as a civilized society, there's got to be there's got to be rules and regulations for everyone to be able to coexist. So I thank you at any rate. And I
All right,
know
just-
you're right. We're getting off the topic. I apologize.
Mr. Chairman, just one further comment briefly. We just don't have enough business in town that if we opened a big marijuana store, that it wouldn't affect, the brand of our downtown. It would convey a terrible thing for our businesses, I think. But that's in addition to everything that people have said.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay, next is, on the agenda is approve the 2020 year-end transfers. I'm gonna just give a little update that's not in your packet. I just got it today. So being a COVID year was a little bit different, and these are unaudited numbers I'm gonna give you, but I like to, before you do the end of year close, I'd like to kind of tell you where we think we're gonna wrap up the year monetarily. So these are unaudited numbers, and as late as today, we weren't able to obtain the school's numbers, but that'll be forthcoming when they get that squared away. But this is from Elaine to me, and once again, I'll just hit the highlights. So once again, for everybody out there, these are unaudited numbers, but while all postings for fiscal year 2021 are not yet completed, below is an anticipated fiscal year end summary. So the big number is the expenditure budget amount of 35,737,158 should have a surplus of 332,586. So that's to the black. Some of that's contributed to, we had $116,993 of unexpended retirement payout. So we haven't paid out Mike's retirement in last year. So there's some money that is still there. I'm sorry, his payout's 45,504, but that's some of it. Unexpected meetings and conferences costs also through the various departments' budgets in the amount of $19,835. That's because we were all meeting virtually. We weren't paying to go to seminars or classes. We just did everything via Zoom or GoToMeeting, and it was not an expense for the department heads. There's also $112K surplus with the debt repayment, as the interest due for this year, this fiscal year on the bonding project was less than estimated during budget deliberations in March and April of 2020. Another one is the revenue budget. Additionally, unbudgeted back taxes were collected in the amount of $856,997, including the properties that were foreclosed on and then resold by the town. So all in all, I like to give you a feel. It's kind of like a report card of the budget of last year. So we're definitely ending up in the black. It's more than I thought, but I think with the explanation that she's given, some of it was unforeseen. Interest changes on the bonding, and then of course, over $100,000, close to $100,000 in back taxes from over 10 years with the going through the process of foreclosure. So hopefully that's good news to the selectmen, and it's a good news to the taxpayers that we're not overexpending. And then without further ado, we can jump into the item 8A.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. I will read them. I'm just trying to see why the two interdepartmental transfer, but at any rate, attached to the summary of the year-end intra-departmental and interdepartmental transfers. The transfers were approved by the Board of Finance at their June 24th, 2021 regular meeting. The first one, move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the intra-departmental transfers for the fiscal year 2020-2021 in the amount of $8,943.40 as presented. So hearing that motion, a discussion? Hearing none. John?
John Collins, aye.
Mark?
Mark Rivera, aye.
Gail?
Gail Richmond, aye.
Peter?
Peter Casper, aye.
Myself, Dan Larson, aye. The next one, move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the interdepartmental transfers for fiscal year 2021 or 2020 to 2021 in the amount of $70,552.06 as presented. Again, John?
John Collins, aye.
Mark?
Mark Rivera, aye.
Gail?
Gail Richmond, aye.
Peter?
Peter Casper, aye.
And myself, Dan Larson, aye. And then attached is an additional year-end interdepartmental transfer, which is going to be presented to the Board of Finance for their approval at the next meeting. And this is an addition, I guess. Move to the
They came in late after they already approved them, so I apologize.
Okay. I'm just trying to ascertain why. Thank you. Thank you very, very much for that. Move the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve interdepartmental transfer for the fiscal year 2020-2021 in the amount of $11,640.41 as presented and forwarded to the Board of Finance for their approval. And again, John?
John Collins, aye.
Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
Gail,
Gail Richmond, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
and myself, aye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. If there's no other old business, the next on the agenda is new business, Mr. Chair, and that would be item 9A is approved resident state trooper contract. It went out in your packet. There's no real significant changes in here. The one change that's going to be beneficial, Mark will know this, is we're going to have a cost decrease because Trooper Reed is not even a trooper first class yet. He's been on the job less than several years, where Daryl was trooper first class. So there'll be an adjustment in the salary due to the time served.
Okay. Read the motion, open it up for discussion. Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the contract between the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of State Police, and the Town of Hebron for a contract period from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2023. Typo in there. For the services of one resident state trooper, and authorize Andrew J. Tierney, Town Manager, to sign the agreement. Open it up for discussion. Hearing none. John?
Well, I'm gonna just say, before I vote, this contract has been a tremendous boon for Hebron. Our crime rate is one of the lowest in the country. We get extra trooper coverage because they go to other communities, and we actually have, I think, state troopers that have retired here. It's cost effective, even though it seems expensive, and I just want to say I appreciate it. But yeah, John Collins, aye.
Thank you. Mark?
Mark Rivera, aye.
Gail?
Gail Richmond, aye.
Peter?
Peter Casper, aye.
Myself, I've seen these amounts going up and up and up, but it's still, it's still necessary, and it's definitely a plus for the town. So myself, aye. So motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, without further ado, is item 9B. This is the Public Building Committee Public Works Facility, the Douglas Library Roof Project, and also the Hebron Public Schools Roofing Project. And there's 4 items listed. I gotten a request. I see Wayne Warwick and most of the building committee members on the meeting here tonight. Appreciate your time. They want to go down through the list on certain things and get some approvals, and they want to dissolve the Hebron Elementary Drinking Water Redemption Building Committee. So without further ado, I'll turn that over to either Wayne, Mel, Richard, or all the above.
Okay, thank you.
Mal, you want to handle this?
Yeah, I'll start off here. Thank you, Wayne. First of all, I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen for agreeing to hear us tonight. We've got a lot of things going on right now, and just wanted to bring you up to date. I'm going to start with the existing building committee that was put in place 2 years ago in November for the project that was done at Hebron Elementary School. Just to bring everybody, including the public, up to date, that project was completed on time, under budget. We have received the majority of our reimbursement. The final reimbursement, it was a $1.2 million project. The final cost to the town of Hebron will be a little over $500,000. We will get $600, and I believe it's $57,000, somewhere in that area, back from the state of Connecticut. And the water at the good news is the water at Hebron Elementary School is
Yeah.
thoroughly drinkable, with no lead in it. So I'd like to thank the town for working with us, as well as John Collins from the Board of Selectmen. So at this point, we would request that you consider dissolving that committee. That committee consists of the board, the building committee, as well as, at this point, one representative from the Board of Education, who is Heather Pettit. We had one other member, but Kevin Williams, but he did not have the time to do it. The only thing left to happen in this project is to receive the final reimbursement. The Board of Education actually submits that paperwork, and they have submitted it. There were some questions on it that have been resolved. So at this point, we don't feel that the building committee needs to be involved anymore in terms of working through the paperwork with the state. That the grant that was approved for this was a grant for the school board, not for the town, although it's a town building. And all the communication would be there with the Board of Education or the administration of the Board of Education. We, of course, would be available should any questions come up, but we believe that all the questions have been answered, and it's just a matter of, I think they have 45 days to wire us the funds. So that's that. Are there any questions on that proposal or that?
No, I think that should cover it. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say that the building committee and that special committee did a fantastic job. I mean, they met every week or more. I don't know if you saw in this $1 trillion federal budget, whatever, that's coming down, there's a huge school-led projects to protect children. And, you know, Hebron was out in front, and Mal and the committee did it extremely well. And I don't know if there's anything that we can do to cite them, the committee members. I was not a committee member. But if we could consider accommodations to everyone, because it was a fabulous effort, and it meant something.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. We are just so lucky that we've got so many great and dedicated people here in Hebron who have, and I've shown that they're consistently willing to step up and help their community. And we're just blessed. But this is what happens. You have a good community. So again, I agree with you, John. I thank them very, very much. They've done incredible work on this, as well as on so many of the other projects that they've gotten involved with. We're just very fortunate to have them. So thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on. And by the way, thank you for the praise. We enjoy doing the jobs, and so we'll continue. And we've got a lot of opportunities in front of us here. The next one I'm going to talk about, only because it's kind of an adjunct to the elementary school project that we've just completed, is, and I think we shared with you in our last round that we were working with the superintendent, the board chair, and the facilities supervisor in terms of planning to replace some roofs there. The replacement for the roofs can be funded by the state. At this point, 54.6% of the eligible costs, which for a roof, all the costs are eligible because it is a requirement. And in order to do that, we do need another building committee. So whether you just extend the building committee that we just asked to dissolve, or because we would have to, well, we probably could extend it, but as part of the application process, they're looking for an appointment of the committee. So it would probably be cleaner from the state perspective that you dissolve the current committee,
Yes. And then reappoint.
reappoint a new committee. And the reason we're asking for this now, and I'm going to move on, move off of that. But the reason we're asking for the appointment of the committee now is because the current building committee, with communication from the Board of Ed, but not with a formal member, is working on an RFI for design professional for engineering and project plans and bidding documents, contract administration and supervision. We're looking to put together, or we are in the process of putting together, that RFP that will be coming to you fairly shortly, based on the fact that we can hire a professional. We currently have a company on board. I'm sorry, take that back. That's the next project. We are not looking to hire a professional for this yet, but we are looking to get an RFI out there so that we can hire a design professional for the two school roofs that need to be replaced. So that's the status now. You will be seeing the I'm sorry, not an RFI, an RFP. You will be seeing the RFP probably in the next 6 to 8 weeks. We would be looking for input on it. We have just about completed our work on it. We'll be sending it to the town for them to add the normal entries that they have for all bids that go out. And then it will be sent to to our town attorney for him to go through it and make sure that it's fine. And then it will come to you. And obviously we'll get it to you early so you have some input as to if there are any things that we haven't included that you might like to see. But that should be coming down the pike real soon. We continue to work with the superintendent and with Wayne, and we know Wayne is retiring, but he's the one that started this rolling. The good news is that we have probably 18 months before these are going to be eligible for reimbursement, but it has to be, these projects will have to be filed with the state by June 30th of 2022 in order to be eligible for a grant at the end of the 18 months, actually 24 months at this point. But if we don't get them in by June 30th coming up, then we'll have to wait another year. And we don't want to extend it any further than we have to. So that's the school roofs. The next one I'm going to talk about is the library roof. And there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of questions on this from the committee to begin with, as well as we presented to you a couple of months ago. And there were some questions at that point. We are at the point right now where this is where I was going on the last project. We're at the point right now where we have a gentleman we're working with whose job is purely to work with the design of roofs. We've had some other reports that have come back to us that we're lacking and for the details of what we're lacking. I'm talking about, the original project started with, this is just like, because it's the shingled roofs for the most part, this is just like putting a new roof on a house. Well, it really isn't because of the way it's constructed. We then went to, we got hooked up, I think it was through Krog, with a company called the Gordian Group, who delivered a report, which was lacking, and I'll let Richard speak to that. And we now are working with a gentleman whose job is to solely design and work through projects on roofs. He is certified to do roofing consultation. He has been with us for the last 6 months. He has been through the entire facility. He's identified several issues that were not identified in any other reviews. And we would like, based on both his knowledge and time, we are seeking a bid waiver to allow us to award the business of the final design, the documentation for construction documents, as well as supervision of the project and administration, contract administration, to this gentleman. He has proposed his services for $46,000, which you say, hey, that's a lot of money. Well, the Gordian Group had offered their services for $60,000, and they missed three major items in their proposal. If you take that in and compare it to the professional services, the design fees we paid for the elementary school system, this has got a lot more work for both the designer and the supervision, and it's probably it is about 2/3 of what we paid there. Our concern about not presenting it or not allowing us to go forward with it through a bid waiver is that whoever we were to, first of all, we're only going to put it out to certified roofing folks. To find one of those is going to be difficult. That group is going to have to get up to speed to where this gentleman already is and identify the issues, because they're not just going to take a report at face value. They're going to want to do investigation, and we'll pay for that. And more important, this roof has been waiting, and Gail can speak to this, and Kevin has heard the story, Kevin Sullivan, who's joined us tonight. This roof has been talked about being replaced for over 3 years, Gail?
I was going to say close to 4, Mal.
Okay.
Yeah, it's way overdue, and we're now seeing leaks.
Okay. And so we think we've got an appropriate person. We think we've got a good price, and we think for the taxpayers of Hebron, if we are not able to get this proposal out, this RFP out to the market by, say, Thanksgiving to just before Christmas, we'll miss the peak bidding time. By getting projects out early, you're able to get a larger pool of contractors. This would be construction contractors that are available and are interested, and they're not booked up yet, so you're going to get your best pricing then, because they want to have work for the next season. If we don't get out there until January, we're not going to probably pay. I can tell you, having done this for a career as a school business manager and working with projects at those schools, we are going to pay more, and we're going to end up with whoever hasn't been able to fill their schedule. So not necessarily get the best talent. So I'm going to wrap up by just saying, if there are any questions, we'll certainly be glad to answer them. We would like you to vote tonight as to whether or not you would be willing to give us a bid waiver. And with that said, I just want to let Richard go through the details, the more technical details of why we would like to use this gentleman and the things that he's found as opposed to what the other proposals had identified. So Richard, if you could take over. Can't hear you, Richard. Nope. You want to try use phone? In the meantime, I'll start. I really want Richard to do this because he's got the credentials to do this. At any rate, some of the things, and probably the most major thing that was found, and I know that Kevin and Gail this, but the original plans of the library soffit ventilation. The holes in the overhang where air can get in, and it also called for functioning ridge vents, places where the hot air can get out. Without air coming in, air is not going to flow and get out, and you're going to trap heat in the attic, which is going to go right up through the decking of the roof, and it's going to end up cooking the roof. If you go over and you look at the library now, you will see ripples all along the roof shingles. You will see shingles that have been broken off. The tabs are gone. If you were to touch those, you find out how brittle they are. And all that's from heat. So soffit venting was not identified, or the requirement for soffit venting was not identified by any of the other previous reports or professionals. Number one. Number two, there were roof vents put in, ridge vents put in. However, they were blocked. And so even if there were soffit vents, in many areas of that construction, the air was not able to get out the ridge vent. It was blocked by the ridge board. They had maybe not cut back the plywood. In order to use a ridge vent, you have to have an opening at the top of the roof. Many of you have ridge vents in your homes. And if
Now,
yes,
excuse me. Yeah. I guess Andy concurs with you with getting this waiver. Is that right?
Yeah, I do. It's kind of a specialty thing. It's not just a re-roof. And the supervision of how they take it apart is paramount. So it's kind of meets the requirement of a bid waiver because it's unique, and we have an actual professional specialist in my mind, and with the recommendation of the building committee. I think so. It's not just a re-roof.
It just seems this is going to be lost on me, and we did talk about the soffits last time, but I'm ready to vote for it if anybody.
I don't want to waste your time. But before we get off that, are there any other board members that have questions?
This is Gail. I don't have a question. I have a comment. This is not just a re-roofing. It's much more intense than that. It's actually rebuilding and putting in items that should have been done when the building first went up. So I agree. We need this. So I'll go along with what John said. Let's vote on it.
Danny, did you have something?
Yes, I did. I just want to know, we've had 3 people look at this thing. What are the warranties if something comes up or down the road? It seems I'm willing to go with this, and I think it's going to be a good thing, but long term, I just get nervous that we get different contractors in to do things, and a year, 2 years down the line, there becomes an issue. And it seems, and maybe I'm mistaken, but it just seems like we just get somebody else to come in and fix the problem instead of holding people's feet to the fire.
One of the, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dan.
No, that just, we have that. And then on the school roofs, again, I've been around long enough to see school roof after school roof after school roof or sections of school roof. I would love to know just where all the different sections of the roofs were done or when they were done, and what their life expectancy is, because every couple of years we're doing, money for school roofs. The last one, I think it was decided to not go for state reimbursement. And it had to do with roof angles or, some sort of I'm going to call it padding. I'm not sure if that's the right
Yeah,
term.
it was the pitch, the insulation under, the state will only fund a roof that has at least 1/4 inch per foot pitch to drains. This is a flat roof I'm talking about. To answer your question, yes, Wayne has done an outstanding job, and we will send the drawings he has from both schools that identify each section of the roof when it was replaced. And to answer your other question, the RFP that we put out, as well as the state DAS requirement, is that any roofing work that's funded by state dollars must have a 20-year warranty on it. So
Okay.
we would be going back to the warranty.
Dan, these roofs that we're talking about on the schools are going to be 20 years old before they're replaced.
No,
Okay.
no.
They don't owe us anything. They are end of life, and
Yeah.
these sections are already to age. The library is a different story, but they're not.
Correct.
That's a different thing. The school, this is a normal maintenance schedule by the time we get to replace it out in 2023, 2024 era, which is what we're talking about here.
Okay.
And
So
by the way, that project, that RFP that you're going to get, that will be bid. We're not trying to rush that through. That will be bid. When we go out and look for a design professional, that will be bid, because we have the time to do it. Because as Wayne said, they're not 20 years old yet, but by the time we get through all the state rigmarole, get the projects approved, they will be 20 years old.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Great.
So,
Okay.
Chairman, just a comment. This is gonna be $1 million that we've probably put into this library, which is, it's an old building. There's not much you can do about that, but buying old buildings, there's a lesson here.
Well, actually, this is the new part of the building, I
1990.
believe.
1990.
Really?
Well, it's the total building. Yeah, Richard's back with us. Richard, is your volume working? No.
No.
This is a re-roof of the total building. The old building has no ventilation in the roof, but it will with the new. It also has issues. It has no ridge vent. It will have that. It also has decking issues. I'm not going to go back through the whole presentation because I think you guys have seen it, have heard it. Certainly, if you have questions on it, please ask. But
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there was a motion. I'm not sure if there's a motion, John, to be honest. I'd
I
have to
could-
see how it was written. Yes.
I could make a suggestion and you guys decide whether you want to follow it or not. So for the first two items about dissolving the school building committee, we can draw up motions for both and appointing new, and we'll put that on the next agenda. I think that would suffice, right, Mal?
yes, it
For,
would.
for tonight, if you want to use the motion, you go into item number 2 on their letter about 4 sentences down, and just start off the motion and add the word approve the public building committee's recommendation of a bid waiver of the RFP process and to accept BPD's proposal in the amount of $46,408 to complete the pre-construction investigation, documentation, provide bid documents and specifications, oversee the bidding phase, and provide contract administration during the construction phase, et cetera. I think you could use that as a motion if you feel comfortable with that.
I do. Does anyone have an issue with what Andy read?
No, I was going to propose, this is Gail, I was going to propose that we need the motion, and that's all we're going to be voting on tonight, so it sums it up.
Okay,
Before you vote, I just wanted to make sure, because I know Mark Rivera had questions last time. Mark, is there anything we can answer for you before the vote here?
No, I pretty much expressed what I thought and felt, and you can't go back and fix things that you didn't do right years ago. So we have to deal with what we have now.
Okay. Okay, Dan, it's up to you.
okay. Okay, to move forward then, can we see that on screen, or can we go by what Andy read and utilize that as our motion? Looking for guidance.
Yeah, we can use what Andy read, I think. If
And I can
I
reread it
think
if you
so
want.
too.
Sure, please, if you would.
Okay, so the motion that you would be voting on states, approve the Public Building Committee's recommendation of a bid waiver of the RFP process and to accept BPD's proposal in the amount of $46,480 to complete the pre-construction investigations and documentation, provide bid documents and specifications, oversee the bidding phase, and provide contract administration during the construction phase. Period.
Okay, great. Hearing the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none. John,
John Collins, aye.
Mark,
This seems like a lot of money for not even putting a nail through a shingle, but I'm gonna vote aye.
Gail,
Gail Richmond, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
and myself. And I know what you're saying, Mark. And this is why I was saying, what are our, if it doesn't work, but I'll go with it and say aye. The motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen, lady.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. The last thing, and before I turn this over, I can't turn it over to Richard. I don't think.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, can you hear you
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Before I turn it over to Richard, I'd just like to extend my thanks to Richard, to David, who couldn't join us tonight because he couldn't get his internet working because of all the water, as well as our chairman, Wayne, for all the work that we do as a group. We work very well together. So the last issue that we need to address, and since Richard's lived this whole experience, is the Public Works building. And he's going to just explain where the projects come from. I mean, in terms of the decision on where it goes, he'll also take you through what's happened so far, and should you choose to pursue other land options, that's purely up to the discretion of the Board of Selectmen. So go ahead, Richard.
Thank you. Going to be slightly redundant. There was a letter that the Public Building Committee issued back on April 29th. I know there's a copy that went to all of the Board of Selectmen, but I just wanted to kind of briefly highlight the critical points. Back in 2010, the Board of Selectmen then gave us a charge as a Public Building Committee to evaluate the existing DPW facility on Old Colchester Road. And we spent a good year evaluating everything down there. And it was our recommendation at the completion of that one-year evaluation that the existing facility was just not worth trying to repair or renovate into something bigger. That the building had literally outlived its physical usefulness. flash ahead to 2013, an architectural engineering firm was brought in by the town at the behest of the Public Building Committee to offer an independent, unbiased assessment of the DPW facility. And they also concluded that it would be cost prohibitive to try and renovate it to address not only code issues, but more significantly, safety issues that exist in that current building. 2 years later, there was another engineering firm brought in, and they also concluded that what we had stated in 2011 and what was another firm that had stated in 2013, but amplified that the building was getting falling into a worse condition, not because things weren't being addressed, that the building was just starting to wear out. We looked very briefly at, trying to use the land down there at Old Colchester Road. Eversource offered us some land, but the site development cost of just trying to make that site work would have added a $2 million premium to the construction cost. But the bigger issue was, aside from that, is how would Kevin and his staff be able to operate for the duration of a construction project that would totally affect that entire site. So there was a cost issue and there was a logistical issue. With the help of Michael Leary, we spent 3 years reviewing every viable parcel of land that was of a reasonable size to support a new DPW facility. I think we looked at over 37 pieces of land, and ones that we found that were adequate size either had massive site issues or there were massive amounts of wetlands that made them a good portion of the land not usable. The ultimate thought was to use some of the land that the town bought on John Horton Boulevard. We know that that is still in play and still being considered. Our concern is that it's now 12 years later, 12 years since we issued our first report. And I know Kevin can attest to this, the building, things are not getting any better. Maintenance issues are increasing. The efficiency of the building, particularly in late of COVID-19, where there are like 3 or 4 different outbuildings to the main building, there's a significant inefficiency. But the most compelling thing that we saw back in 2010 that hasn't changed, but probably has gotten worse, is just the overall safety issues of how DPW personnel need to work on the equipment. The stalls are just too small to accomplish the work they need to do on a day-to-day basis. The other thing that's an issue over there is that the wash station for the trucks, we're really not, at this point, we're doing kind of an okay job of disposing the wash off for the trucks. It's not really completely code compliant. So, and there are other code and accessibility and energy code issues up there. So we're really asking the Board of Selectmen to really think about bringing that charge back to life for this building committee to look at what the viable options are. We know that we've had ample conversation with Kevin as far as square footage, number of bays. So we have a lot of history that we don't need to revisit, maybe just tweak based on 2022, 2021, 2022. But we felt the letter that we wrote, I think you can tell that there's a sense of urgency, and I would encourage the members of the Board of Selectmen, if you haven't been down there, by all means, we're willing to meet with you, and we're willing to meet with Kevin and kind of show you from our vantage point some of the very, very significant and compelling reasons why this project needs to be brought to the fore and to reality for the town of Hebron. I'm available, as Mel and Wayne are, to answer any questions that you might have.
So, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, John.
I've read all the reports back to 2010, and there's clearly a need. There's no doubt about that. In between this, we bought the Horton property, which is 89 acres, which I've grown. I've walked it, I've shown it to people. It's a special property, and every time I look at it, I say, this is the future of Hebron. This is Hebron, as we are stewards of this town for future generations. This is where the town's going to grow into. It's historic. It's got some of the original farmland. It's got beautiful stone walls. It's got a beautiful history. It is environmentally sensitive. It does have a lot of wetland. It is wet, and it's as wet as Bobcat Park or Raymond Preserve across the street. And I'm concerned that there's a reason why Ram didn't build over there. It was too wet. But the thing that I'm really concerned about is that this could be a game changer for the town. It is such a beautiful place. It would connect the downtown, which will be charming and is charming, to places like the new Tertian pub. And this is what people love. I mean, this is what people love about Hebron, and it's going to get better. You see people walking along the sidewalks. This is the future of economic development. People are going to be moving here because of that. I just looked at the per capita income in Hebron, and it has gone up. We are now like with Simsbury. I was shocked. We're at 121,000. I think they're 120. I think we're ahead of Glastonbury. So we're getting a reputation for being a nice place. It's a healthy place, and I think it's a great time to deal with this. And I do want to deal with this. I do want to get a first-class facility for public works. But I think there's another thing that we need to do, and that is to decide how that parcel, the 89 acres, is managed, or what is the future there. And I would just propose that in tandem, we set up a committee of neighbors. For example, Mr. Tulieri has come, Mr. Arneson has come. They're all very concerned, but when Kevin was talking about Kinney Road is historic. Those are the two places where the original settlers farmed. And you go down Kinney Road and you feel the history. So I'm concerned about that. But in any case, I would like to set up a committee where people have their interests expressed. That would be a committee of citizens, of neighbors, of conservationists, of economic development, to bring in these ideas and accommodate and get the best solution. Because like I said, this parcel is special. Just one more comment. I'm on economic development as liaison. I went to Durham to compare what their issues were. Durham's similar to us in south of Middletown. One of the issues they have is they have no land. They can't expand. They can't do anything. And we have land. We have this parcel, which is beautiful. It has a story. The original settlers would be going up those wagon roads that are still there. So in any case, I would hope that we are able to accommodate and come up with a plan that is beneficial to the future of Hebron, that also accommodates the needs of public works. So thanks.
Anyone else? I think we do definitely need to move this thing forward. What I would ask is if we could get what you feel would be the acreage footprint of the size of parcel that we need, and the topography type, which I think we all know needs to be as level as possible and not wetlands. But what are we looking at for a footprint for this facility. I sadly don't think that there's a lot of options out there. I believe you people have looked at a lot of the options. And I think we need to show the public the work that you have done. There's probably not one piece of property in Hebron that does not have some sort of significance. And I think that's a sad reality. And I don't want to seem cold or heartless, but at the same time, being realistic, I think we need to look at all pieces to see where this is going to actually best fit. And if other people can show parcels that it would work, but then fine, let them come forward. But I think we need to have a basic overview of what that piece of parcel of land would need to look like. You know, XYZ acres, accessibility, whatever they are.
And we can give you that. My memory serves, it was around 10 acres, basically flat. It has to have multi-road access. But we can get the information that we got from the programming and get it to the Board of Selectmen and to anybody else who wants it.
Well, I thank you. I think it needs to come to us. I think it also needs to be broadcast. You know,
Yeah.
if we're going to move forward with this project, we need to let the townspeople know just what the impediments have been, so that they understand also.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Peter.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Casper. But what we're trying to accomplish tonight is, I think, I'm just trying to understand what we're trying to accomplish tonight, and I appreciate all the information shared and the comments of John and others. But are we just looking to provide the support to begin the process again of an evaluation to allow us to move forward? Is that, what are we trying to do tonight specifically? Is it to re-engage the building committee and approve that? Is that something that we're doing? I'm just trying to make sure, because clearly there's a lot of issues involved and a lot of thoughts and a lot of historic interest, and I have a lot of questions myself. But tonight, are we looking just to simply agree that we're moving forward, or what are we trying to do for tonight? I'm just trying to get clarity.
Okay. Andy, did you want to pipe in?
Yeah, I think I can speak for the building committee. So we sent out a lot of information to the Board of Selectmen, and we did a lot of this work, we being engineering firms, consultants, and you can see the amount of time and years that were put in. We didn't rush in anything. So I just want to make it clear for everybody so everybody understands. The purchase of that land was just that. That was not an approval for a public works facility, and that still needs to be voted on. The expenditure to build that needs to be voted on. So all we basically did is had a conceptual plan at the time from an engineering firm after vetting multiple pieces of property, including the existing property, and move forward to the town to purchase that with possibility of putting the public works facility there. So we're not there yet. This is to get the neighbors to make sure they know we're not trying to sneak the camel's nose under the tent. But with that being said, there's a lot of documentation that Kevin has, Nathan L. Jacobson and son. We can reiterate the process and educate what we've done and why we've come to this conclusion. And then it's still up to Board of Selectmen, town resident votes on everything. The reason, the need is there, regardless where this ends up. If it ends up there, if it doesn't, the need doesn't go in. I think the Board of Selectmen realizes that, and I appreciate that. Secondly, this is never a popular topic. Multiple towns have done these and it's had failed at referendums 2, 3, 4 times. So it's no secret. There's no big advocacy for public works. Unfortunately, I think they do a great job. Thirdly, the reason we want to get this started is it's all about financing. You well know we are in the midst of doing the pump stations. That's got an anticipated life to get that done, and the amount of the bonds are what they are, and the payment schedule is what it is. Forecasting down the road, we're having some debt come off in 2024, 2025, one being RAM, another one either being the parks or a company to fire station. You try to align big ticket item projects like this with those kinds of peaks and valleys to try to keep it steady. So we know the needs there. We really need to support our public works people. We want to show everybody in the whole town the work that was done and why they proposed putting that there, but that still would need to be approved by the townspeople. So we just want to make that clear that this isn't carved in stone. I will say, as the town manager has been involved in this process for over 10 years, is we diligently try to identify parcels that we could put this on. And we, for whatever reason, Mr. Steiner did a great job explaining it. There's not a lot of available parcels that would accept something like this for that use. So finding another site would be very, very hard, but we're open to doing whatever the Board of Selectmen and the people of Hebron want us to do. So I would just recommend tonight that the Board of Selectmen approve that we start moving forward, reassemble the information and have PowerPoints and a full presentation on the work that was done, the money that was expended to try to look at other sites, do it at the existing site, bring everybody up to speed, and at least they'll know where we are to date. And then we could, like John recommended, if you want to put another committee together, add to the building committee that you have, whatever you guys propose.
So, Mr. Chairman, just, not to, I'm passionate about this, but I think there are two questions. There is the 89-acre special place that we have, and then there's the building, the public works facility, and whether we can accommodate both or whatever. And there's a possible issue of buying additional land adjacent to the town center near the Horton property. I mean, that's possible. There are parcels there that are still for sale, but I know some of it's wetland, but in any case, I think it would be, if we want a smooth process, yeah, let's go forward with the building committee. Let's put together a citizen committee that includes various, I've already gotten people that aren't even on Kinney. They're just interested in the town. They're like, wow, that's cool. Like, we have the opportunity for something new. That's something special. Get some of those people and have a committee to look at, that parcel. Because when people see that parcel, when I walk through that parcel with people, they are amazed. It is a gorgeous piece of property, and it is, like I said, it is perfectly situated for economic development and historic development and all that stuff. But if we could get a committee together to look forward, just that will smooth, I think, what we do. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mark.
I think John has some valid points. I think Peter looking for clarification about where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do here. What was right on point, Peter. My concern is if we start taking too long, we're going to get bogged down and we're never going to get this public works things going. And I'm 100% behind having a public works to do it quickly rather than waiting. So my concern is that we get wrapped up in too much bureaucracy and we're waiting another 5 years, 3 years, 5 years. To me, that's even too much. So that's my concern. I have no interest in harming historic properties, or maybe John's second comment is we could incorporate both there. So I think that would be my wish, but I don't want to get mired in bureaucracy. It seems like we have study after engineering, and we keep bringing it up, and then we put it on hold, and we pay somebody else to do it again. How many times do we have to pay to do the same thing? That's my concern, guys.
Well, the studies didn't include like traffic studies or environmental impact studies or anything. So, I mean, those things have to be looked at. They didn't look at historical issues. Those things are going to come up, and I don't think this is going to happen next year. This is going to take several years. If we're talking about bonding in 2024, we start the process, we get a good solution and go forward. That's the best way to do it, with deliberate haste, as President Obama used to say.
I contemplate. I would like to see some of the prerequisites that the building committee has put together. As I say, we definitely need to move this thing forward. I just need to think more on establishing another committee. And, my other thought is if someone else were to own that property for whatever purposes, they're going to make a presentation of planning and zoning. They're not going to have the oversight that we, the town, would be giving ourselves. A public works facility has got DEP. It's got so many other entities that verify that everything they're doing is proper and correct. Whereas, well, we already know we've had businesses go into town that we've had to send letters to take care of their stone walls and to do the upkeep that they promised that they were going to do in the first place. So I don't know. And I'm not saying that that's definitely the place to put it, but I think that we need to definitely move forward. I'm not totally sure what the next step with this is, but I think if we are going to look at potentially other parcels, we need to know what those parameters for those other parcels would need to have. What's necessary for this place to be built upon.
Mr. Chairman, this is Peter.
Yes.
So if we can agree to move forward, I think that clearly I think all agree from what I'm hearing that we need a new facility. There's safety issues. There's great work that was done years ago to confirm that we need a new facility. So we need to move forward with that. I don't think all the other questions can be answered without additional work. And I guess my question maybe to Richard is, if we moving forward with I don't know if we need a new committee or moving forward, can we put timelines on when we can get certain information back that's reasonable? Like, John's point, there's clearly a lot of interest in where and I have a lot of interest in where as well, but can we put something, because the idea of, I think Mark's right, the idea of if we're not careful, it's gonna be 5 years from now and some other members of the Board of Selectmen probably will be having the same conversation. And so how do we put some time parameters that supports moving this forward, demonstrate to the public that we're moving it forward, capture and build upon the good work that's already been done, so we're not continuing to talk about this as a board years from now. And so whatever we can do to finish the conversation tonight by agreeing that we need to move forward, and then I just ask for some feedback at some point, maybe it's the next meeting, about how we can think about timelines and do we come up with, as John said, other committees, and how do we sort of bring that together? But I'd like some timelines around that, because it's unfortunate that all that good work was done so many years ago and we're still talking about it. So I just have some interest in that. And just moving forward tonight to say, yes, we agree, let's move forward. Whatever we need to do that, let's agree to do that, and let's keep this thing moving.
Peter, yeah, to answer your question, we absolutely, as the building committee, can put together a timeline from today to 2024, where Andy's saying bonding is going to come off, and that's when we want to kind of bring this forth. So let us do that. We'll also get, with Kevin's confirmation, the parameters that Dan had talked about as far as acreage and some of the other site characteristics. And we can definitely get all of that information for the Board of Selectmen for their next meeting.
That's great. Thank you very much.
If I can add to that, we also need from the Board of Selectmen, there are requirements beyond just the number of square feet we need and the number of acres we need. There are requirements such as access as to where it's going to be located in town. I would say we can also provide the properties, and we would do it via a map, the properties that were looked at, as well as, and I guess this is a question to Andy, once we come up with the required sizes, can someone in the, I guess it would be the assessor's office, identify property meet that that size requirement?
It's,
Yeah,
it's planner.
I'll jump in. Not to be harsh or callous, that Board of Selectmen way back when I was the Public Works Director put that committee together with different people involved without that parcel in mind. We never thought we'd hit the hurdles that we hit. We were really hoping to put it up by the Parks and Rec up there, and that turned out to be not a good mixed use. We really spent a lot of money trying to get it to fit on the existing site, where we tried everything because we knew this wasn't going to be a popular move no matter where it's being proposed. And that didn't work. So in doing all that, and Kevin can contest to this, and this is just a fact, we looked at it with Michael Leary, who was a very competent planner. We looked at every parcel in town that would fit this venue, whether it be footprint, environmental, location, and we have the list, we can show the maps of the parcels we considered. We looked at the land, the cornfield across from Georgina's or the old Mary and Eiley's. Like I said, several other sites, that one was too wet. The CLMP land was mined for the airline trail, and they dug it too deep. That's all wetlands, and it was below the water course, couldn't use that. So there is not a lot of tracts of land left that would support a footprint that we have designed now. Whether that's going to be changed, and that could be a game changer, I don't know. But I think we can share the information and the data that we used and the land that we looked at, and we could go from there. I think a lot of that good work and money that was already spent should be vetted again before we start spending new or more money doing, chasing our tail. But I think we can get started and start bringing that information back to the Board of Selectmen and the residents of the town of Hebron.
Andy, it's Kevin. Hey, I believe we have all this information already.
We do.
We multiple presentations to the Board of Selectmen and the other boards in town. And, we could bring that back out if you want, but I agree. We've looked at every available piece of property in this town. So that'll fit that footprint. We spent a substantial amount of money designing that footprint already and having BL companies do the architectural layout and conceptual design of this building. So, the money's already been spent, so we can bring that back out for you.
Andy and Kevin, I agree with what you said. However, what I'm hearing there is that if we've already identified pieces and we can't use them, and the selectmen still want additional pieces, we need to ask the questions as to what land beyond what we've already looked at is available. Because all we're going to do is we're going to slow this thing down if we don't ask that question up front. That way the selectmen have all the options, because the building committee, the decision to get this moving ahead and the fact that the building committee, and we'll work with Kevin and the town, we can put all the information that exists together. But I'm not singling John out, but John already asked the question, well, what other properties are out there that weren't looked at? And that question is going to be asked again.
Yep.
Well, no, I didn't ask that because I know that a lot of properties looked at, but I have asked the question of, are there other ways? There's no ideal answer to this. That's what people have come back with. And you're looking at a large facility, and I looked at the feasibility study and their plans, and I got to tell you, to me, that's a disaster. So I think we need to all look at other, maybe less perfect options. So for example, could you have two smaller facilities that, one is recycling with us refurbishing some of the stuff on Old Colchester, and you could store some equipment there. I don't know. But we do not have a perfect answer. We do have an opportunity over on the Horton property that we didn't know about. And we shouldn't be blind to that. Now, everybody's saying we need to rush for this. We're not going to rush on this. It's 2024. We have time to deliberate, and we have time to include citizens. Now, I know we bought the land over at Burnt Hill, and that this facility was going to go over there, but there was stiff opposition from the neighbors, right? And it didn't fit certain parameters. Well, this is also gonna have some stiff opposition if you don't take into accommodation people. That's one thing. But number two, I'm just more concerned with the fact that you lose the opportunity of this land. This is special. This is a special place. Anybody that walks that land you can see there's a vision for economic development and for the future of this town. And I would be very disappointed if we rushed into this facility and built that facility that's described in the feasibility study, which is right in the middle of the thing. And any sense of the history and the ecology of that place is gone. I just think we can come up with a better answer than that.
Just so you know, John, the recycling facility is not slated to go in the center of town. It's going to stay down.
There's some buildings there that we could house, have storage still. I mean, we could refurbish, renovate some of those buildings, right?
No. That was what was
tear them down.
Those buildings are not worth putting money into. Now,
I don't.
New
Tear
buildings?
them down and build new.
Yes.
You could tear them down and build new. But the site work to even do that, even a portion of it, was deemed to be in the neighborhood of $2 million. So that's just the site work, not including the building. And that's, if you're talking about a satellite facility, that's a lot of money. We did look at splitting the facility, John, just so you know. We did look at putting part of it up at Burnt Hill and part of it down in Old Colchester.
Yeah.
It did not work for a series of reasons, including operational reasons, but also the cost would be outrageous. But that's not to say that the town can make those decisions. They could also use eminent domain and tear buildings down where we couldn't do that. We did not look at eminent domain issues at all. So if you guys are willing to rethink that and confiscate people's property and take it, or do something like agricultural and turn it into this facility, then we can open up new areas. As the criteria we were given, which was no eminent domain, and stuff like that, we basically looked from the Colchester line up through Gilead, not to the north end of town, but up through the center of town. And this is what we came up with. So we can certainly give it to you. And I agree with you. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you wholeheartedly that the Horton property has to be respected and has to be handled properly. I am not disagreeing with that at all. And I don't think anybody in our committee would. So the question is, can we develop it for economic reasons or for public use or for the DPW with adequate respect for the environment and for the historical nature of it? And how can we do that? I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Okay. The thing is, we want to do that. We think that it can be done, and we think the DPW, maybe the town office, maybe the Company 1 fire department, and other public venue, like if you will, a common, can all be situated on that site, as well as potentially other use. and still respect it. But that's obviously has to be fully vetted. And
Yeah.
that's not where we are. What we need to do is we're asking the selectmen to put a priority to starting that process for real, which means not just another feasibility study,
No,
but get us saying, okay, we are going to replace the DPW. We do not know exactly where it is yet. We do not know, but a good thing to start is getting citizen representation, as you put it, on the use of the Horton facility and how we could potentially fit this in to a proper development of the Horton property. Number two, if that doesn't work and we have a plan for the Horton property, then what else could we do? But we have to get on the road to actually accomplishing that, not just another feasibility that gets dumped onto my committee and then gets ignored. In 5 years down the road, we're exactly where we are today, and with nothing else. So we just need to get going.
I completely agree with you. And I think what we should do is put out a feeler for additional people that have skills from the town who want to be on your committee. Get more skill, more different types of people on there. And it will enrich your committee, but it will also smooth the process as we go down the, I mean, these people will sell it.
Yeah, actually, John, just like with the HES plumbing
Right.
program, and what we need is this a building committee, a special building committee, which will the public building committee will participate, but other people will be on it to round out the participation to address the issues. But we need to start that process, and we need to then look for people that can contribute and want to contribute. As long as we're moving forward, I speaking for myself, and I think for the rest of my committee, we're all be very happy. We just want to move forward. We've been on this committee for 11 years or 12 years to do this project, and we haven't gotten there yet. So we're really getting tired of just almost going to start. Okay, we want to actually get started. So thank you. We appreciate your consideration of this, and we're looking forward to a positive outcome. Thank you.
I even see people that are in attendance that could be helpful if they wanted to be, if they want to be on that. Mr. Souza, I think, is a planner, and obviously Kevin Tuomieri is knows the area very well, and Mr. Arneson also.
Chairman Dan,
Yes.
can I say
Mark.
something?
Go, please.
Wayne, I think you very effectively articulated a starting point. We could be here all night discussing the end game of this, but we're never going to get to that. So before we even try to decide what it's going to be in the end, let's get started with what Wayne said, and we'll develop what the end game is. We're getting a little too far ahead of what we think is going to happen. Let's find out what is going to happen by starting. That's my feeling, guys. And I don't know if we need to discuss this any further. We could be here all night. So guys, let's make a decision. Let's honor John's feeling that this is very historic, and we want to tread on this delicately, and we want to honor Wayne and their committee's work with the diligence that they put into it, and his suggestion that we get going. That's my feeling, guys.
So
Do we need to vote on this, or what do we need to do to bring this forward?
we set up a separate, as with the remediation committee, water remediation committee, a special building committee that will include the building committee and others?
We can, similar to what we're going to do with the building committee regarding the school roofs and stuff, we can get something ready for the next agenda and get it in the packet, and you guys can vet it along with the building committee at the next meeting, if that's okay.
That would be good. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for your patience with me.
Okay. And then I also would request, I think it would be nice to have a kind of an update or whatever of some of what has been done.
We'll have that.
Yeah,
We'll
perfect.
get you the parcels that were considered, the footprint. We'll give you all the reports, we'll do a dog and pony show. I'll bring Tom Fenton back and Kevin, and we'll do another presentation of, like Wayne said, without any sarcasm, we've been at this for 11 years. We formed that committee John's talking about years ago with salespeople, residents. I forget the gentleman's name. He's not on it anymore. Whalen, he was on it. A few other people, Amwake. And we went to several towns that put up public works facilities, and we never thought we were going to hit the hurdles that we hit. We thought we were going to be able to locate a parcel that would be conducive to this, and that really became the challenge, and it still is. So we'll get you everything that we did and how it went about and where we are today, and we'll have some sort of schematic about creating another. And as a town manager, I totally agree. You need a specific building committee with some of the committee members or all the committees that we have now, but you definitely need to have other people involved in it for a facility of this magnitude. So we'll put that together for the next agenda packet, if that's okay.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay. Moving on, I think we need to do a motion to dissolve the,
We were gonna draw two motions up and put it on the next
Okay.
agenda. I don't think there's any rush to do that tonight.
oh, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. I have next item is award the contract for the reclaiming and paving. The town of Hebron recently went out for proposals for reclaiming and paving of Webster Lane, Hickory Drive, and Walnut Drive. 3 proposals were received. See the attached bid summary. Attached is a recommendation from the Public Works Director, Kevin Kelly, to award the contract to the low bidder, B&W Paving. Mr. Kelly is once again present here tonight in the meeting to provide information and respond to questions.
Yeah, on this project, we had 3 bidders on the project, Allstate Construction out of Massachusetts, B&W Paving out of Oakdale, and Sullivan Paving out of Ivorytown. The low bid was B&W Paving at $397,000, and there was an alternate for $129,000 for an extra road. What I am looking for is approval of this RFP. And on the alternate, I'm going to adjust the scope on the alternate to try to get that price cut in half on the alternate. So as I thought it came in high. So we're asking for approval. Does anybody have any questions on the project?
I'd just like to comment, if people aren't aware, back in the infinite wisdom of the town being built back then, those roads are 30-foot widths. That's why it's so expensive.
That's one
Okay.
reason. And this is a prevailing wage project due to the size, and that substantially increased the cost of this project.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion. We'll bring it up for discussion. Move the Hebron Board of Selectmen award the contract for reclamation and paving of Webster Lane, Hickory Drive, and Walnut Drive to B&W Paving of Oakdale, Connecticut, in the amount of $526,000, and authorize Andrew J. Tierney, Town Manager, to sign any necessary contract documents. A discussion? Hearing none. Look for a vote. John,
John Collins, aye.
Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
Gail,
Gail Richmond, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
and myself, Dave Larson, aye. Thank you. Our
Thank you,
next-
Mr. Chair. Next item, I'm trying to help you out. I know you don't have the packet in front of you, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Next item is 9D. This is a waiver request for emergency repair to Old Slocum Road. You remember, I mentioned this right after the storm, that we had damage to a pipe on Old Slocum Road. Just quickly for the public, Old Slocum Road is a dead end with a subdivision on the other side of this bridge, so it doesn't allow us another access of in and out. So it kind of constitutes an emergency. And the way we're getting these storms, if we don't fix it right away, it could cause more severe damage, stranding those people there. So an emergency repair was necessary in a bridge culvert on Old Slocum Road due to a recent heavy rainstorm, attached to Public Works Director Kevin Kelly's request for a waiver for the purchasing policies to take care of the emergency repair. Mr. Kelly is once again here to go over that and what he's proposing to do, but I'll leave that to you, Kevin, quickly.
Yeah, we had a failure of the pipe culvert. It's a metal culvert out there, and the bottom of the pipe eroded through all the way. And we brought Nathan Jacobson Associates out to review the damage on that and make his recommendations. Normally on something like this, we'd have to go through a long permit process. But we're due to this being an emergency, we're gonna skip over that. And what we're recommending is hiring Shumack Construction out of Clinton. Come in, they've done this kind of work in the past for, I believe it's Monroe, they did the last one. They were recommended by the engineer. And what they're gonna do is dam up the brook and divert the water down to one barrel. And when that other barrel is dry, they are going to put a concrete base in the invert of that pipe. And that hardens up, will release the water. And what we're hoping for is this will last a good number of years until a more permanent solution can be offered. And that solution is going to be a difficult one because in a situation like this, you have to build a bridge to repair the bridge because there's only one access in. So it's going to be a costly venture. So it's something we have to start planning on for the future. So this should buy us some time to do that.
Okay. Any questions? One of my questions, how many of these metal type bridges or metal type culverts do we have in town? And I know we put a bid out for the one on Old Colchester somewheres.
Yep.
How many more of these do we have, and what are their conditions?
And unfortunately, all these metal pipings throughout town are starting to rust through on the bottom. We just paved East Street and we had to go through and replace probably half of the crossings on East Street. We just put an RFP out for 2 of the deep ones, and we're going to have those sleeved. We just opened that RFP today, so we'll be bringing that to you at the next meeting. But that's one of the problems with all these paving projects we're doing. Everything we touch, every time we open it up, we're finding these pipes that are rusted open, and we have to go in and replace these pipes. So it's adding substantial cost to all these projects. Some of these more problem ones, you have to sleeve them, which once again is a substantial cost to the what we're looking at. So to answer your question, they're in pretty bad shape. It's just right now, from all the salt and everything else, it's showing its face right now.
Thank you. Move that pursuant to section 2, small a3, and section 3 of the Town of Hebron purchasing policies. The Hebron Board of Selectmen approved the request for bid waiver for the emergency repair of the Old Slocum Road Bridge culvert. Further, that the Selectmen approved the expense of $31,688 from the road repair line in fiscal year 2020-2021 budget, and the manner in which the urgency of repair was completed using review of the damage by Nathan L. Jacobson Associates, selection of Shumack Construction for construction. Any discussion? Hearing none. John? I'm sorry, you got cut off.
John Collins, aye.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
Mark Rivera, aye.
Gail?
Gail Richmond, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
and myself, Dan Larson, aye. Thank you.
Dan, point of order.
Yes,
I just, how, did anyone talk to the auditor about taking money from the 2021 budget? That's closed.
Can I answer that, Mel?
I'm sorry?
I was planning on taking that out of the approved road budget.
For
So it
21,
wouldn't,
22?
Yeah,
for the existing budget we're working on now,
Okay,
21.
and your motion needs to be changed, because your motion says 2021.
Must be a typo.
so it is the 2020, 21, 22 budget that you're coming out of?
That's right. The existing budget we're working on this year.
Okay, so did it happen this year, not last?
Right.
I'm sorry to butt in, I'll butt out now, but I just,
No, it's a good point. I was assuming this was something that happened prior to June 30th.
Actually, I think it did happen back then, but it's not gonna be worked on until probably 2 weeks from now, because the water's so high, we can't get in there.
So if it happened in last fiscal year's budget, would that be an acceptable expenditure? Mel?
if it was not encumbered on June 30th, you can't go back.
Right.
I mean, that's why I asked about the auditor. I mean, if the
Yeah,
auditor will let us go back, that's fine.
Yeah, I was planning on doing it on this year's budget now.
Okay. So with that being the case, rescind the previous motion. And to make sure, I'm hoping this is proper, that due to new information, asking that we rescind the previous motion, and I'll ask for those in approval to say aye. John,
John Collins, aye.
Mark,
Yeah, why do we need to rescind it? Why don't we just amend it?
coming out
and
of,
you
change?
can make a friendly amendment.
Yeah, it's just a correction.
Yeah, let's just correct it, make it 21, 22 and amend it instead of going through all of this.
You gotta make a friendly amendment, then you gotta vote again because it's changed.
You've already voted.
All right, so-
You make a
we've
friendly.
already voted, so we have to go back.
Okay,
So-
gotcha. Mark
Peter?
Rivera, aye then.
Okay, Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Gail?
Gail Richmond, aye.
Okay, and the new proposed motion that moved to pursuant to section 2, small a3, and section 3 of the Town of Hebron purchasing policies. The Hebron Board of Selectmen approved the request for bid waiver for the emergency repair of the old Slocum Road Bridge culvert. Further, that the Selectmen approve the expense of the $31,688 from the road repair line in the fiscal year 2021, 2022 budget, and that the manner in which the urgency of the repair was completed using review of the damage by Nathan L. Jacobson Associates, selection of Schumach Construction for the construction. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none. John,
John Collins, aye.
Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
Gail,
Gail Richmond, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
and myself, aye. Thank you. Thank you for the catch, Mel.
Thank you, everybody. Andy, unless you need me for something else, I'm gonna jump off the meeting. My computer's about to die.
Okay,
Oh, thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
thank you. Okay, our next will be our Thursday, August 19th, 2021 meeting. If anybody has anything to add or whatever, again, let the town staff know. Do
I
we
do.
have to add on the
Mr.
Public
Chairman,
Works? Yes,
before I forget, I'd like to put a new business, just a summary of how we're the town is addressing the climate crisis, and that would include our solar projects, any plans that we have for hybrid or electric vehicles. I think that would be a good summary for people in town. They've asked me about it, and if we could do that, I'd appreciate it.
That could be added under new business.
Thank you.
Sure. Andy, anything?
No, just what we discussed tonight to add to the next agenda. If there's anything, get it to us, and whatever John just recommended we could add on to.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Our next item would be the consent agenda. And these are items to be considered to be routine in nature, which the board may or may not vote on as a packet. And we have the approval of the June 17th, 2021 regular meeting minutes and the tax refunds as listed. Anybody have
Mr.
any?
Chairman,
Yes.
this is Gail. If you would take out the June 17th, as I was not in attendance of that meeting, I can't consent, or I don't wish to consent to that.
Okay. Okay, so we'll vote on them separately. Did anybody review the minutes? Any questions, comments? Okay, a motion to accept the June 17th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. John,
John Collins, aye.
Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Gail,
Gail
Abstain.
Richmond, abstain.
and myself, aye. And then our next motion will be to approve the tax refunds as listed. A discussion? Hearing none. John,
John Collins, aye.
Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Gail,
Gail Richmond, aye.
and myself, aye. Next should be our liaison reports. Starting at the top. Mark, anything?
Just one quick thing, the chairman of the RAM board, Stephanie Bancroft, is resigning from the board. She's been fantastic. That's a great loss. There's gonna be a lot of movement going on in the next 3 to 5 months there.
Okay. Okay. Gail?
Okay, I have nothing to report from the Hebron Board of Ed. From the Commission on Aging, many people are so happy to know that the congregate meals will be starting again on August 23rd, and the current grab and go will cease then. Exercise classes are going to be starting on Monday, the 19th, and that will be 2 silver sneaker classes, Tai Chi, enhanced fitness, yoga, and I believe a couple of others. The Douglas Library, as always, has much to say. The movies are taking place on Friday at 1 p.m. There's programs right now for children, young adults, and adults. So if you go out on the library's website, you can see all the different things that they're doing for the summer. And that's it, Johnny.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
Nothing from Parks and Rec to add, and it's just from the Board of Finance, a couple of other highlights, not new news, but just to reiterate a couple of important items that they mentioned. Obviously, the state budget reinstated the ECS funding, and so they made a note about that, as well as their interest in continuing to monitor, which Andy has covered in a previous meeting, but continuing to monitor the COVID money that's coming back to the town. I guess Andy is 1.4 million, the right number on that to Hebron, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's just something that's being monitored. So just worthy of continuing to note. Thank you.
Okay. John?
I don't have anything, sorry.
Myself, I have nothing about, more work's been done at the Peters house outside of that. Lights are up. Nothing with the fire department yet. So that's kind of sort of it for me. Andy?
Yeah, it's something that's a little off the path here. I don't know, I'll have to find out if I don't recall if I sent it to the selectmen yet or not. But we got an invitation to go to the town of Glastonbury next Tuesday. They're looking to form a coalition to try to impact the state legislation to, improve the situation with the juveniles, with the car thefts. There's been shots fired at residents, accidents, hitting people, causing damage, both bodily and personally. So they're not just going to stand back, and they think it's stronger by numbers. So the town manager from Glastonbury reached out to all the surrounding towns, and they're having a forum next Thursday night. I believe it's the 22nd in Glastonbury. Myself, I'm going to attend. Any of the Board of Selectmen that want to go, more than welcome. They're requesting town leaders that are involved in this. I talked to Mark Rivera earlier this morning, and he had a good suggestion. I'd already kind of reached out to him for some information, but Fran, who did the presentation for us back when we were having issues, I don't want to mispronounce his last name, Marco, help me, but
Yeah, Frank Carino, he was the head lead prosecutor in the state of Connecticut in the juvenile justice courts. He's the leading authority on these issues in the state of Connecticut. So I'm gonna go with Andy, and I'm gonna try to get Fran to come too.
yeah, we're going to try to get Fran to go with us, and we'll represent Hebron, at least the three of us, if anybody else wants to go. They're having an open forum. I was in the JI today about it. And, I've got a 9:30 call with the town manager from Glastonbury tomorrow morning. He was really impressed with the information and the data that we had, statistics, then our own presentation that we did, but then also Fran's presentation, which really nails the problem of why they're repeat offenders and some of the horror stories that why the police can't, their hands are tied. So I think we're very up on this, and I sent him what we had, and he called me actually today and said, let's do a little brainstorming tomorrow. So hopefully we can get Fran to go with us, and we'll look very well prepared as far as Hebron goes.
Perfect. Great.
Just a comment, that woman that confronted the kids, and those kids shot at her and hit two bullets at her door. The way it was reported in the news was terrible. It was like dismissing that it was attempted murder. It is a huge problem, obviously, and I thank you for going.
Yes, and you are totally correct. And sadly, for whatever reason, the news organizations seem to minimize some of these terrible, terrible events that are going on, or just misdirect blame. So, anyway, thank you. Yes.
And just one more item, then I'm done. I've been sending the updates on the sewer project in the correspondence, and I'll continue to do that. They look to start construction in September. They're getting all the materials and all the documentation and all the planning done that they need. And I'll be sending out that set of minutes probably tomorrow, the update from Kevin. And then lastly, Michael Leary's retirement party is next Friday at the Lions Club. So if anybody was planning on going to that, the deadline is now. So thank you.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Anybody else? There is no executive session tonight, so do we have anyone for public comment?
Hi, yeah, I'd love to publicly comment. I'm going to turn my camera on.
Okay.
I'm hoping it's working. Maybe not.
We don't see you. We hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, cool. Hi, my name is Michelle Hannon. I live on 116 Kinney Road. I'd love to talk about the property and the discussion of the salt shed a little bit. I'm so sorry that I can't get my camera on, which is ironic because I am a teacher and I've done Zoom all year. I am concerned as a person who lives on this road with well water. It is a big concern for me in terms of building a salt shed on an area where my water could be affected. That's a huge concern for me. I'm also concerned regarding the open space and the wonderful opportunities that we have for the open space, which I love and adore. And I've been using so much, and I've been so happy that so many other people have been using it. But I worry that the salt shed so close to open space, you know, could really damage the reputation of it and perhaps make it seem unappealing. And I would love to be a part of these conversations. I love living on this road. I love living so close to the center of town. And I don't know of many other towns that have a salt shed in the middle of the town. And I completely understand in terms of the salt shed in the current position being the way it is, that it definitely does need to be repaired. I love having my roads plowed and nice and clean with you guys as well. But it is definitely a concern I have environmentally. It's a concern I have fiscally in terms of our taxes. And it's definitely something that I hope to continue to chat about and learn more about for sure. But it is a concern as a taxpayer and as a resident of the road. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And hopefully you'll tune back in as they show what the plans are and where the issues are, so that, again, everybody, we really want everybody to be informed, but and
Yeah, thank
hopefully
you so
everybody will
much.
be an open mind. You know, because this is really, it's something that we have to address. And so, you know, hopefully we'll see you or hear you again.
Yes. Also, so excited about the bridge, by the way, like thrilled about it. Thank you guys for doing that and making that a possibility. I cannot express how much the open space has like been meaningful to our community in terms of COVID. And it's just been awesome. So thank you for preserving that land, and I hope to keep it that way. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Michelle, this is John Collins. Not a commitment, but would you consider being on the committee that would be expanded next time?
Yeah, I'll put my email in the chat, John. How does that sound?
Great.
Okay, cool. I'm starting a new job, so I don't know what it's going to be like. But yeah, I would love to be a part of the conversation. Thank you so much.
Great.
There was someone else, I believe, that was on.
Yes.
Dave Sousa, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you for taking my comments. I also have a comment about the discussion for the proposed public works facility. I agree entirely with the previous speaker and with Mr. Collins relative to the appropriateness of this use in the town center on the Village Green District property. I think it's inconsistent with the master plan for the Village Green District. It's inconsistent with the plan of conservation and development specific goal in the plan of conservation and development relative to the Village Green District. And it's inconsistent with goals of the Village Square zoning district, which enunciates the specific set of guidelines for uses within that district. And the concern is not just that it would create a use that's not terribly historic, or that's not terribly appropriate relative to function and noise and other nuisance factors, but also maybe because of that, it would create a tone of development that would offset interest in building other uses within a district. In other words, it would devalue the remaining land in the district and on the property, irrespective of whether there was a buffer, irrespective of whether the access could be made specifically to Church Street. I think it would not be not serve the town well to hamstring the use of the property. I understand that there's a lack of land in town that would accommodate this kind of use. And I'd like to end my talk with just one question, and I can go off camera to hear if there's any addressing of the question. The question is, has the town approached any neighboring towns? Regionalism is a very important and valuable tool relative to controlling costs, relative to sharing costs. And there may be an adjacent town that also needs a public works facility that we could locate on and share both the land and the cost of the building. So with that question, I concede the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know if they've ever talked of regionalization. I'm not even sure what that would look like, but it is definitely, we have worked very hard at attempting to regionalize many different services, some with limited success. But, we will definitely look at. So thank you
We
very
looked
much.
into,
Andy,
not to
please.
get into this tonight, but that was looked into. The logistics of, loading the trucks and the sand and the travel time off of the plow routes, especially with Columbia, there wasn't anything that was going to work for both towns, if that makes any sense logistically, where we're located, where they're located, and we looked at some parcels in between. But it's something we can definitely revisit.
And could I just say, I know Mr. Souza is a planner, right? You're a planner?
Yes, I'm a certified planner and a landscape architect.
So, and I'm not in charge of who goes on this committee, but would you be available to be on the committee?
I would be interested and available if it were a site selection committee as opposed to a building committee that would have long range duties for the design and construction of the building.
Right. I think that's where we're going. That's why, we need additional talents, because obviously the building committee has got, significant, it's architects, engineers, but we're enlarging it to include other basically site selection skills.
He's putting all the fucking neighbors on the committee. It's to squash it.
Anyways, all right. Should we have a motion to?
I'll also include my email in the chat box.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and Gail's on mute.
I make the motion to adjourn at 9:48.
Thank you.
Excellent. See you in
Have a
August.
nice weekend, all. Thank you.